Welcome to the Dogish podcast, the only podcast dedicated to dog parents and the topics, events, and personalities impacting their lives. I'm Sylvia Wes, certified dog trainer, pet expert, and dog mom over at Dog Up in This Bitch. And today I am joined, like I am every single time, by my co-host, Jasen Arias.
I decided it was a morning for me, so I made it just in time. So
yeah, you did. You just like you're like skirt right at the end there. No, but today we had Larissa Wohl on our show, who is an incredible rescuer, foster mom, dog mom, Hallmark Channel host, producer. She's so fun, and she just talked to us about her fun childhood growing up with basically like a menagerie.
Everything from a Wienerberg, a cat named George, and leading all the way to Hallmark television shows. It's so cool.
Very cool. So it was a very, very fun interview. We can't wait to share it with you. So let's get started with Larissa Wohl.
Let's go. Did I gather that you're on the left coast with us?
So yes, so right now I actually live in California, but right now I'm visiting my boyfriend here in Nashville. So I'm, I keep laughing saying I'm bi-coastal right now.
I totally get it.
Technically, Nashville is booming right now. I actually have a lot of clients who moved out there who are in production, because I guess they're doing a lot more production work out there.
Yeah, and you can still buy, which is nice. I mean, house prices have definitely gone up out here, but in comparison to LA, wow, it's still a pretty big jump. Although it's interesting because now you have to make reservations at the restaurants, things like that, that to us or to me in LA are kind of a no-brainer. For locals, they're like, this is a different world. You used to be able to walk anywhere. So yeah, it's a boom, which is cool in a way. And I think the locals are not too happy about it.
Well, yeah.
Well, what can you do?
We're used in LA, we're used to gentrification. So I think we're just like, this is just how it happens. Your city's cool now. You're welcome.
Exactly. Yes.
You now have a bagel shop that will make you wait 2 hours in line. Aren't you so excited?
You have made it.
You're on the map.
Gross.
That's so funny.
It's such a different world we live in over here. I was actually right next to you. I just got back from Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah, we're producing an event out there for for animal welfare, but it'll be benefiting Haas. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No, I don't.
Yeah, Haas is great. So we'll talk to you more about that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
See if you want to get involved. But
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So the world is your oyster today. This is your interview. So I know you're big into senior dogs and big into the rescue community.
Despite the puppy shirt that we have on right now.
See, what did I just say? I just said they need to make one that has puppies crossed out and says senior dogs. I do have some senior dog shirts too, but I love all animals. So puppies, just drive me crazy, but they're adorable.
So you do a lot of fostering too, yeah?
Yes, I do a lot of fostering. So I'm happy to talk about anything really. My backstory, fostering.
I would love to know what kind of inspired you. Like, one of my more fascinating parts of hearing these stories is how somebody's journey
where did you go from? Where did you go?
Yeah, like sometimes they're very similar and other times they're very different. And so I love hearing how people just got into the animal community.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk about that. Do you want me to start now?
Love it.
You already did start.
Okay, cool. Well, then let's go. So I have kind of an interesting story in terms of how I kind of landed where I landed. Growing up, my mom, who was from England, was a big animal lover. And according to her, growing up in England, anytime she rescued or had an animal, her dad, who she always claimed was a bully, would get rid of the animal, wouldn't let her keep it. So she always wanted more animals. And so when she moved to the States and we, my parents bought a house and I was born, she started collecting animals.
I like the word collecting.
Yeah. When I
great
say
adjective.
collecting, she really was, a rescuer before it was there was a title for it. We would go to a shelter on any given day and intercept someone walking in with a cage of a mom cat and 4 kittens. All of a sudden they were coming home with us. If there was a stray dog on the road, we were always stopping and knocking on doors and figuring out what we could do. We had a local paper called The Acorn, and every week there would be a pet of the week. And so if it was a rabbit or something, we didn't have a ton of dogs because it just didn't fit our lifestyle then, because my mom was all over the place and my dad worked all day and I was at school. But rabbits, birds, cats, you name it, they would, be brought into our home. And so that was kind of normal to me. That was what I knew. And I always like to tell the story about when we did go to a shelter and actually get to kind of walk in and maybe pick out a new pet, because, we had room for no more, but that never stopped us. We would, look through the kennels. It was usually in the cat room. And I would always be drawn to the cute little fluffy kitten that, was just this adorable little nugget. And my mom would say, no, because someone else will adopt that one. We're going to go home with this 18-year-old cat with one eye, one leg, missing fur, can't hear, can't see, and might, pass on in a month or two. That's the one we're taking home. And as a little kid, I was like, oh, it's not exactly what I, was thinking, but okay. And, I'm very thankful to her now for instilling in me that whole kind of value of the, always helping the ones that truly need it most, because we know, in rescue, not every rescue animal is alike. A lot of times the kittens, the puppies, the really cute, fluffy ones will fly off the adoption floor, whereas the seniors, the behaviorally challenged, the medical challenge, whatever it may be, the ones that just aren't cute, they're all cute to me, but you know what I mean. Those are the ones that have the hardest time.
The ones that don't photograph well.
Exactly. Those are the ones I gravitate to. And so at the time I didn't love it, but now I'm very grateful for her instilling that in me. And then I went.
So how old were you going through this? Because I mean, that's an interesting experience for younger kids to grow and adapt to learning that there's an animal that they could lose in a relatively short time.
Oh yeah. I would say, all the way. I don't know that we had, I'm trying to think. I think we got our first set of kittens when I was maybe 5 or 6. And then from there, and one actually got hit by a car, because that was back in the day where you didn't know so much about keeping cats indoors as you do now. And they loved being outside. So we always had, indoor, outdoor cats. And one of them, unfortunately, got hit by a car. And it was so traumatizing, but I was so young. And looking back, I think, God, that was horrible. But it did kind of teach me, I guess, obviously a lesson in caring for your animals, but also that, you're their protector as a pet parent, because things happen. And so, yeah, it was probably a little traumatizing as a young kid, although I didn't look at it that way in the moment, obviously. But yeah, we had so many come through our doors that sometimes they would get adopted, if it wasn't, we had a few that didn't get along with our cats already. And so my mom would look for a home for them. So it was just kind of part of the fabric of my childhood, kind of them coming in, them leaving, and it didn't bother me back then. But yeah, I never thought about it in the moment. But yeah, I would say probably everywhere from 6 to, probably 16, that time period was a lot of animals coming in and leaving, either, passing away or being rehomed or, whatever it may be.
Is there one in particular that you remember?
Oh gosh, yes. Well, one that there was there was one cat named George that I loved. This adorable orange fluffy kitten that grew up with us for a few weeks, and then my mom found a home for it because we had so many kittens at the time, and I was devastated because I loved him, but he went on to find a great home. But I just remember waking up in the morning and seeing him by my bed, and like this outline of him, it was one of those with like the back shadowing or whatever it's called, and it was like, oh, I love this boy so much. But I also knew that we had so many that, you know, finding a home for him was a good thing. But oh my God, he was wonderful. And then I remember my mom got into her head that she wanted a mynah bird, because she had
what's a
mynah
mynah?
bird
What's a
growing.
mynah bird?
It's a black bird that you can teach to talk.
Okay.
And she had one growing up in England. I mean, yeah, that was, I didn't know anything about mynah birds, except she wanted to get a mynah bird and teach it to talk. So we ended up, mind you, my dad was not an animal person. So every animal that got brought into our house was snuck in. And of course,
that's a really hard secret to keep.
I know. Like, was there like a room where dad just wasn't allowed to go? Like, I'm gonna go in here. No, that's my office. Stay away.
So
as it sounds like Dr. Dolittle in there.
He would come down every morning. The way our house was positioned, he would walk down the stairs, and my mom had built a little, because then she got into rescuing rabbits, and 1 rabbit and 2 rabbit turns into 18 rabbits really quickly. So we had this little side run that she kind of, you know, built up to be the rescue rabbit run. And he would come down and stand by the window inside the house and look into the run and count every single morning to make sure we hadn't stuck more in. And yeah, there were always,
oh, bless your dad's heart.
And he was allergic to cats. And I'll never forget this one fight he and my mom got into. And I was probably maybe 8 or 9, because I remember the friend that I was best friends with at the time. So it was probably 8 or 9. And I remember hearing them fight about something. And all of a sudden my dad said, "It's me or the cat." And my mom said, "The cat." And I remember just kind of like, what do I do?
I mean, she made it really clear where he stood. I am pro this conversation.
Yes, God love him. Oh my God, he put up with a lot. And so the mynah bird, I just remember my mom taking me to some, like, I don't even know, office building. We met this guy. She got the mynah bird. It was like this undercover operation. We took him home. We had him for, you know, not long before my dad discovered there was a bird in the downstairs room.
Jeez.
And then we were going away about a month later. And my mom found a bird store nearby that would take him and watch him and care for him while we were gone. We were gone for a couple of weeks. And we got back, and the poor mynah bird, I don't know what had happened. It was not doing well and had to be put down really quickly.
Oh.
And I remember that, obviously not the happiest of stories, but I just remember the turmoil of saving this bird. And then, you know, my mom knew we were going out of town, but it didn't matter. We were going to save this bird. And then that happening. So that's obviously a story that I'll never forget, and taught me a lot at a young age regarding, you know, trying your best, but also knowing kind of your limits. And what's going to be best for the animal, because I think my mom had just taken on too much. And then I'll never forget one other story where.
Okay, wait, hold on. We have to take a quick break.
Yes.
But one other story when we get back. I feel like this is just going to, and then one other story, and then one
I love
other
it.
story. Okay, so let's hear this.
Yeah, so we've learned about George and the mynah bird.
By the way, I did Google a mynah bird. It is like this little black bird with a mohawk. Very cute. It's if you want to also, if you're like following along, you're like, I need to know this bird. It's MYNA, mynah bird. Okay, so let's hear this. Now we've moved the mynah bird. We lost the mynah bird.
Yes, and you know,
there's beloved bird.
Beloved bird. And she had been talking to me about how we were going to get this mynah bird to talk and sing, and the poor thing passed away.
Never got a word out of it.
Oh my God.
That was
Okay.
morbid, Jason.
What?
What did you say, Jason?
He's like, he never got a word out.
Oh, rest in peace, Mina Bird. We called him Moisha. He was Moisha the Mina Bird. Okay, last story on this note. My mom again had found some woman who had, I think, 2 rabbits and was trying to find a new home for them. And of course, my mom was like, all right, Larissa, we're going, dad's at work, let's go. So,
We'll hide it under one of the other rabbits.
He'll never notice. So we go to this woman's house somewhere in the valley of Southern California. We're, getting ready to pack up these 2 beautiful rabbits. And I don't remember why, again, she was getting rid of them, but I had forgotten something in the car. My mom had a minivan at the time. And, the technology was not like it is now. So she gave me the key to go grab whatever it was in the car. I grabbed it. I left the key inside. I closed the door and the key was locked in the car. And of course, we had to call my dad to come save us. And my mom was livid with me because
were the rabbits already in the car?
No, the rabbits were in the house, but it meant we couldn't leave with the rabbits and yet had to explain why we were at this random house in the valley.
There are no rabbits in this box. You're crazy.
Oh my
The
God.
books.
So yeah, those are just some funny stories that I haven't thought of in a while that came to mind.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Okay, so talk to us now about what your role is, what you're doing in the animal welfare community.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn what this has all led to. These are fascinating stories. And it's crazy because I've got 2 boys. I've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, which ironically, he's starting at a new school and one of his teachers is already asking him for advice on what to do about dogs that chew up headphones and things like that. So hearing your stories and then hearing what it has led to is kind of inspiring to me. So so what have your stories led to?
Yeah, I got a little sidelined there in the midst of all that.
No such thing.
So, okay, my mom put the love of animals into me. Then when I became I became a journalist. So I was an anchor and a reporter and a producer. And I was living in these little kind of, different towns on the West Coast, making a name for myself and getting, my feet wet in the industry. And I was working for the most part morning shows. So I was up at 1 a.m. and I would be working from 3 a.m. to noon. And then I'd have to go back to bed around 5 or 6 in the afternoon. And so making friends was not easy because nobody else, works that schedule. So I started volunteering at shelters because that was something I always loved and did growing up a little bit here and there. And I finally had time to really devote to it. So I started wherever I was living, working or volunteering at, the city, county shelters. And that's when I really saw how horrific the situation was. Because it's a revolving door. It's never ending. I'd be so excited that I'd help somebody fall in love with a cat to be adopted. And I'd hear over the loudspeaker, couple with 18 cats at intake. And it was like, oh my God, I got 1 out the door and here's 18 coming in. And it just really opened my eyes to how we are drowning in animals. And there are good people and there are bad people, but it doesn't matter when you do the math. There's nowhere for them to go. A lot of shelters are great. A lot of shelter workers are great. A lot are there for a paycheck and aren't there for the animals. But regardless, you can have your heart and soul in it. And there's just not enough homes. There's not enough space. And so that's what really got me started even more in the animal welfare world and just kind of speaking up and doing what I could. And so using my news platform, I was always trying to bring awareness to amazing people in the communities doing great work or, horrible situations going on that were kind of being unreported or, the shelter implementing a new cool program, whatever it was. I was always begging my news directors to let me do some fun or just interesting stories on the animals of the community. And, sometimes they'd say yes. A lot of times they were like, nobody cares. It's not if it bleeds, it leads is the thing. People care about, crazy, horrible situations in local news. They're not always that interested in feel good and fluffy kittens. And so, I did what I could, but I kind of quickly became in every city known as the go-to animal person. And then when I ended up over at Hallmark, I was solely working behind the scenes as a producer. And then they decided as a network that they wanted to do more animal rescue content. And I was like, okay, sign me up. What can I do? I have contacts, I have story ideas, I can put together, pitches, whatever. And basically the amazing CEO at the time was like, great, make it happen. I mean, it was kind of like, I like you, you know what you're doing. This is obviously your wheelhouse. You know how to be on camera and behind the camera. So make it happen. And so it was a crazy couple of years making it happen and growing the Adoption Ever After initiative, which was Hallmark's big, animal saving mission. And it was crazy. It was busy. I had no time to breathe, but it was wonderful. And it was such an amazing accomplishment. And it helped save, through my efforts on the show, Home and Family, we found a little under 2,000 animals a home. But I know that the ripple effect was much larger because I had amazing people writing to me saying, I never even thought about not going to a puppy store or a breeder. That's all I ever knew growing up. But because of you, I went to my local shelter. Things like that made me just so happy and proud. So I know that it really did open people's eyes up to the issue that maybe most of them never knew about.
Yeah.
So that's how the stepping stones led me to kind of, what I was doing over at Hallmark.
I think that's such an important aspect about the rescue community is that, and we've seen it a lot, and we often want to lead with, and you brought it up, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And so we share these horrific stories about the animals, but it doesn't, I don't know that inspires people to adopt. Like that, to me, that inspires fear. Like, oh my God, well, what if something is wrong? What if they would attack my kid or anything like that? So what you've done, like really to flip it on its head and show those positive stories and the love that becomes behind rescues and getting rid of that stigma, like that's my heartstrings right there. Love that.
Thank you. Well, it's a good point. I was inspired by the Sarah McLachlan commercials, which you're bawling by the end of it. And so I kind of expected everyone to feel that way. But after being in this world so much, I've realized a lot of that can be a big turnoff to people. And interestingly enough, working for Hallmark Channel, which, is white picket fences, everybody's happy.
Totally.
There's the happily ever after at the end of everything. It kind of forced me in a way that wasn't natural at first to always make sure things were in a positive light.
That it felt good.
Yeah, and I'm actually thankful for that experience because, again, when you're in the midst of it all and you just want people to understand, sometimes you do just want to be like, look, look at these horrible situations, but that doesn't hit the same way with a lot of people, as opposed to showing kind of this amazing, beautiful dog that, has brought so much to someone and always kind of ending on a positive note or you can do something about this. Maybe this is a horrible situation, but here are 4 things you can do today that will help, as opposed to just being like,
they're all dying. It's your fault.
Everything's horrible. You're killing the animals. Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And yeah, it wasn't natural to me at first, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to grow that side of my thinking as well.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
So last time we talked about a story that you had from when you were a kid that really impacted you. So let's fast forward now to we're doing things with Hallmark and we have these amazing animals that we're featuring. Is there a story in there that has really left an imprint on your heart?
Absolutely. So many. I mean, we did on our show, we did what we called our happy tale segments, where we, followed up on a lot of the animals that were adopted, if not all of
That's
them.
awesome.
It was so, I mean, that was part of kind of my job, was to connect with the rescues over time and continuously track down which animals had been adopted that we had showcased, and find out if the families were interested in doing a follow-up segment, which was amazing to see them in their environment now, and to hear from the humans how great everything's been going, or that there were some challenges that they had to work through, and being real about it, because not every story is amazing right off the bat. There's always some time and patience that needs to take place. So it was really, really wonderful. And there was one story in particular, one dog, I should say, a dog named Brody, who so that same CEO that gave me this amazing opportunity really liked this dog that I posted on Instagram from my local shelter in LA, or one of the local shelters. And so I just thought, I think that's a sign I need to pull this dog out. I need to, maybe he'll adopt Brody, maybe someone else will, but it was just a sign for me. So I pulled Brody out of the shelter. Brody was this white or cream looking Cocker Spaniel mix. He looked like the dog from Neverending Story, Falcor. He looked just like Falcor. And he was sweet as can be, but he had this huge fatty mass on him. He was older, and he had this huge fatty mass kind of on his abdomen, and it was fine. It didn't hurt him or anything, but it didn't look pretty. And I'm sure it would stop a lot of people from adopting him. So we got that removed, and he was thriving in my house. And, I started kind of posting him, and I showed him on the show once as an adoptable dog. And I think I got a few people that wrote to me asking questions, but none of them lived close by. So I wanted to keep him local. And then I ended up showing him on the show a while later, because the poor thing, well, not the poor thing, he was loving life, just was staying at my house, and life was going on, and it was great. He was easy as can be.
All I can see is Falcor rolled up in front of the table, like on the road, like this giant fluffy white dog.
I mean, that's what he was. He looked just like Falcor. So he came back on the show, and I was contacted by a woman who lived down in Corona, California, and she just sounded lovely. And she said, I saw Brody the first time you showed him, but my daughter was getting married. I had so much on my plate. I didn't even think to actually reach out to you. And I figured he had been adopted. I mean, it's been a couple months, and I caught him on the second showing, and I'd love more information. So I connected with her. Of course, you never know if these people are legit, or anything about them. They're strangers. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're complete strangers. Something about her, I liked this. Just felt good. So I actually brought Brody over to her place to meet her and her family, and they couldn't have been lovelier. I mean, it was like walking into a Hallmark Channel movie house on a set. I mean, everybody, she baked me cookies. We chatted. She had she had a couple other rescue dogs, a rescue cat. All her kids were over. She had already made a name tag for him. I mean, this was before I even knew if I was going to leave him with them.
She knew.
I have the chills.
She knew. And and I did, because it was lovely. And I explained that he had marked a few times in my house, so I had his little belly band on, and I said, if that becomes a problem, or if anything becomes a problem, I'm happy, I'll take him back in an instant, no questions asked. Don't even think about giving him anywhere else. And we stayed in contact, and Brody just had the best couple years of his life there. He passed on, in a peaceful manner, and she has since rescued, her and her family have rescued 4 other animals of mine. Another dog, and 2 dogs and 2 cats. So 5 in total, and they are just amazing. And that's just one of those stories where not only did I find these, this friendship, not that we talk every day, but her family is great. They send me cards and letters and texts. Um, but I also was able to find 5 animals, this wonderful home, out of a show that I never would have ever met this lady or anyone in her family. So those are the kinds of things that are just beautiful to me.
I just want to like sidebar really quick and say that if a Hallmark producer says that your home and family are like out of a Hallmark film, that is a very high compliment. Like,
it was true. I mean, who has cookies baking for you when you walk in the door?
I mean, it sounds maybe a little bit like a show you produced, but it's real life. So that's,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was amazing. And as I said,
the Hallmark ending, if you will.
100%, and such a lovely family, and just feel good all the way around. And there are so many stories like that, to be honest, but that one, because they were local to me and so we have kept in touch so much, is the first one that comes to mind.
I love that. Okay, so where are you now?
That was my question. Like, where have we gone?
Like what's, because you said Hallmark, it's all past tense.
Right. So Home and Family, my baby of babies, they did not renew that for the 10th season. So
9 seasons is like amazing.
That's
9 seasons. So yes, I mean,
in 2 years. Wait, what?
No. It's the show itself was on for nine years.
Wow.
I was part of it for 6. So I was still working in news the first few. And it wasn't until I left news that I got brought into the show. So, excuse me. So yeah, it was, look, anyone in TV or entertainment of any platform knows, all good things come to an end, even though you don't want them to. So it was one of those. It was bittersweet. We absolutely love each other. Both the crew on camera and off camera truly are a family. We still talk. And we're hoping to resurrect the show possibly somewhere else down the line.
I was going to say, I think we need a reunion tour somewhere.
Listen, maybe a little different, maybe a slightly, who knows, edgier or topical or whatever, but something similar. I don't know. But, we're all kind of continuing our work in our own capacities. And I certainly, animals were my life before the show. It's funny because I think some people thought that was my role on the show, but it really is my role, like as a human. So, that's never going to stop. And I also do some freelance work for some other, local LA shows and animal shows. So I'm staying busy. But, we all miss each other, but, we stay in contact and hoping, out to the universe that we're back at some point somewhere. So
cool.
That's the hope.
Oh, okay. Somewhere. Oh,
so what is going on right now? Like, what other kind of things are you working on, or who are you working with, like shelters, or like
Sure.
what kind of drives your days right now?
Oh my goodness. So it's kind of nonstop, so there's a few other shows that I've done some freelance work for, which is To the Rescue, which airs in LA on CBS. There's Animal Zone, which is an awesome kind of, it airs on Cox Cable every Saturday, and it's a 30-minute program that talks and highlights all the wonderful people that are doing great things in the animal world. And then I do segments for KTLA, KCBS, KMBC, all of the different, local stuff when there's something that, that I can discuss on the news channels. And then right now I'm also kind of putting together a show of my own that I'm developing with a few other executive producers that would kind of follow around, kind of similar to what you love to do, kind of traveling the country, working with animals and shelters. So I can't say too much about it, but that is something that we're in the process of.
Yeah, you'll have to come back and say too much about it on the next show then.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to. Let's again put that out into the universe, that it's going to all come into reality, and I can tell you everything.
Very exciting. So I see no, go ahead. Continue.
I was also going to say, I have my 3 rescues.
I was just going to talk about them.
One of which is here in Nashville, upstairs hiding. And interestingly enough, something that I've been going through with her is a very bizarre behavior change. She's older. She's about, we really don't know, maybe 10, 11. And she's always been my baby, but antisocial. And she's become increasingly more antisocial as the years have gone on. And so that's just an interesting thing that I've been dealing with, because she started getting aggressive with me recently, which was very out of the ordinary. And so I took her into the vet, and she did have some issues with her mouth. So we were handling that. But just a note that from somebody who, you know, tries to stay up to date on everything with my animals and animals around the country, you know, you just never know. It's always a learning process. There's always trial and error. And I was beside myself to see my little baby suddenly, you know, trying to bite me. And so it's, you know, there's always things to learn. And as you know, as a trainer, it's, no dog is like any other dog. And as they get older or experience different situations, they change too. And you need to kind of learn and how to change with them.
Well, gosh, my parents are getting older and they're changing too.
Did they try to bite you?
Honestly,
I feel like my dad, maybe.
Is he trying to bite you?
You know, it's less physical, more emotional. It's emotionally biting. All right. On that note, we'll take a quick break.
The other thing I was going to bring up that I'd love to chat about is fostering.
Yes,
we're on it. Yeah, let's chat about fostering.
Great.
Go
Bring
for it.
back.
We're
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, no, we love it. Like when
get in there, girl.
Yeah, like tell us. So you have a passion for fostering.
I have a huge passion for fostering, dogs and cats. And it's funny, I only fostered dogs for years, but then as we just were discussing last, before the break, as my dogs have gotten older and a little bit more curmudgeon-y, I started
crusty.
A little attitude-y. They haven't been as open to random dogs coming into their space. I can't understand why. So I actually have turned to fostering kittens more recently. And, you know, I grew up with cats and I love cats, but it was never something I really thought I'd get back into because I kind of became such a dog person. But I've got to say, fostering kittens is such a fun experience. And I would love to tell all your viewers, you know, whether it's dogs or cats or seniors or kittens and puppies, fostering to me is such a win-win. You know, obviously you have to expect that you might have some accidents around the house, or, you know, there's always, these dogs and cats are coming into your home. They don't always know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So there's that. But that's such a small portion in my mind. Seeing these animals transform from being broken, scared, just unsocial, to these beautiful creatures who are loving life and sprawled out on the couch and asking for belly rubs or coming to nuzzle up, you know, on the side of you while you're watching TV. That to me makes it all worthwhile. And also, while it's obviously the priority is helping these animals decompress and learn how to be the best pets they can be so that they find forever homes, it is such a beautiful thing to do for your community, because as we all know sitting here, rescues and shelters, especially right now with kind of this post-pandemic wave, are so strapped. They're so full, especially with large dogs, because, you know, most people can agree to take in a small dog for a temporary amount of time, but large dogs take more space and more time commitment. And, you know, you kind of want to know what you're getting into a little bit more, because a large dog can obviously be a little bit more, can do a little bit more damage if they're going to than a small dog, but most don't. But that's just my.
Well, and kind of back to something you said about helping an animal transition from, you know, the stresses that they're going through. One of the other things that I've learned is oftentimes you can keep them from becoming more stress. So these animals are going through a very stressful environment. To take them, and if their best scenario and the best circumstance they have at the time is to go to a shelter and be around the other loud barking dogs and cats, then that's better than just on the streets. But if they have a foster home to be able to go into, to avoid being in the concrete cell and avoid all of the, like, they are scared animals, and anybody that's a dog mom or a dog dad knows exactly what it looks like to see, that scared animal. So these foster families that can bring in these animals to keep them from going into this system deeply and developing that anxiety and developing those stresses, like you're helping on that. So you're not always going to get an animal that's like freaked out and broken or anything like that. A lot of times you're getting an animal that is just excited to be in a warm house with somebody that is going to love them.
100%. I don't think people realize what a vicious cycle it is for an animal to go into the shelter. An animal that may be completely balanced and beautiful and healthy over time, like any human would, breaks down in a shelter environment. And then when they're taken out of that environment, there's a time period to get them back to where they were.
And even still, like, they'll never really go back. Like, they're always going to have like PTSD. Some of them develop separation anxiety because they don't get love and affection. So when they finally get it, they're like, I'm never letting you go, so these things happen.
And that's another reason on the flip side why fostering, at least in my opinion, is so great, because it sets that animal up to find the best forever home off the bat. Whereas a lot of times when animals are adopted from a shelter, they're going to a house and then, more times than not, they're returned for some reason. And then maybe they're adopted again, and then maybe they're returned again. And so when they do finally find that forever home, there are so many kind of layers of fear that have developed in that animal. Whereas if you can kind of intervene, and as you said, Jasen, take that animal straight away, they don't have to go into the shelter. Their quirks, what scares them, what makes them happy, what training they already have or might need. Then you can, and the rescue obviously, can find that perfect match out of the gate and stop them from kind of bouncing from place to place to place, because you've learned so much more invaluable information about an animal. So, I mean, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, it's such a win-win in so many ways. Obviously, first and foremost for the animal, but also for you as a human, it's a very satisfying and beautiful experience. And for the shelter system, for the rescues, for your community in general, it can help relieve or alleviate some of the over, stress, the overcrowding, just all of that. So I love fostering, and, for kittens, all you need is a bathroom, basically. For, a dog, depending on your time and space, you can, obviously pick one that fits for you and something you can easily take on. But it's just such a beautiful experience, and I absolutely love it. I'm actually very sad that I can't do more dog fostering right now, and have kind of decided, now I say this now, that one day in the far future, when my 3 rescue babies have passed, I may just be a foster, because it is harder to do sometimes if you have dogs that aren't as open to it. So I thought maybe I would kind of clear that space just to be kind of a continuous dog foster, because it's so needed. So I say that now, who knows? But
well, and I think
we'll check in with you next time.
The other part that's great is it's an awesome, like, kind of referencing back to your dad, when you have somebody in the family that's not too sure about bringing an animal into the family. Like, everybody that I've talked to that has a foster program, they are very excited for just the try system. Like, just try. And if it doesn't work out, we're more than happy to take them back and find them another good home. Like, when you go other routes of bringing animals into your home, like, you're kind of either you're going to be a good guy or you're a bad guy. You're either keeping the animal because they're a part of your family, or you're surrendering them. And then you're, the evil villain of all of our stories. Versus if you're fostering, you kind of get to do the same thing, but you just get to find the perfect fit for your family. because not all dogs deserve to be loved, and all cats deserve to be loved, and there's a perfect fit, but it's more like dating as opposed to having a child. You're like, this didn't work out, gonna send them back into the foster system until they find their perfect home, and until I find the perfect partner for me. It's just the whole thing is just great. And I don't think people realize some of the bigger shelters have huge foster systems.
I want to like jump up and down. I'm so happy you said that. I was talking about this yesterday with a talk I was doing, that fostering is almost, and I don't say this lightly, this term, but you're kind of taking dogs for a test drive.
Right.
And again, it is a commitment. It needs to be taken seriously. It's not a disposable thing. So I don't want people to get the wrong idea when I say that term, but you're temporarily bringing in different animals into your home, which is such a great learning experience for you. Is this even the right time to take on a full-time commitment? Do you like small dogs, big dogs, needy dogs, dogs that have a lot of energy, dogs that are couch potatoes, shedding dogs, non-shedding dogs? You get to learn so much about the different personalities and breeds and traits that you would never get to do if you just picked one dog. Now that's great too, if you just adopt a dog and that, happily ever after, but it's such a great experience to go through. And sometimes I'll sign up to foster animals with special needs or seniors or, issues I've never even heard of, just for that learning experience.
Yeah.
Because it gives you so much.
Listen, all of our dogs are going to get old one day.
Yeah.
I look at it like, and this might be because whatever, but like wedding dress shopping, like you're not always going to go to the shelter and find the one and walk out that day and be like, forever. Like, it's contractable on, and that's no big deal. All right. On that note, we have come to the end of our show.
Ooh.
No.
I know.
Well, until we can't bring you back to do
We'll
the story that you can't talk about yet until we end the show. So like,
I know, but if you've never heard one of our episodes before, Larissa, we do end our shows in a very special way. Yes.
I always love your
time.
introduction to this.
I mean, I want to pump Jason up, you know what I mean? But it's definitely dog dad joke time. So Jason, do you have one queued up for us today?
I do. I'm kind of excited about it. You ready?
Yep.
Why was the Dalmatian hiding from the cops? He didn't want to be spotted.
Literally was just gonna say that.
I was thinking of something with spots, but
I didn't want to be spotted.
That's good.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I didn't
There you
blurt it
go.
out. I would have ruined the joke.
Oh no, that's why I jumped in. I knew it was one. If I gave you guys enough time, you'd be like, there's something with spots here. So if anybody else is going to use that joke, make sure you don't wait on the punchline too long.
Get it out. Just get it out. It's lowbrow. People are gonna get it. Just you get it first.
I love it. That was a good one. I'm gonna have to tell that to someone today.
There you go.
All right, Larissa, thank you
Thanks so much, Larissa.
so much for joining us.
This was so fun.
This was excellent fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right. I want to thank everybody that joined us on today's show. I especially want to thank Larissa.
Especially.
I know, especially. It's still early. I need a little bit more coffee, but I want to thank Larissa. That was a lot of fun getting to talk with her and learn about her journey. And like I said, when we started, just her being so heavily influenced by her mom and how that's gone on to create this foster like queen, like she's just crushing it, and all of this stuff going on with Hallmark, and she's got the new plan. So thank you especially to Larissa, and thank you to everybody who joined us. If you haven't already, make sure that you've hit the follow or the subscribe on the podcast, and go to check out Larissa on her Instagram account. It's just at Larissa Wohl, WOHL on Instagram. So she'll be sharing stuff there. And if there's anything,
as always, give us a follow at the Dogish Podcast.
Yeah, double down on that one. And then if there's a topic or event or personality that you would love to hear on the show, reach out, let us know. We're always looking for new ideas that we can put on there. And it's that time of year. We're going to be down in Kansas City on October 10th for the Stray Light Savings event. So make sure you look for some information coming out on that very soon. Check it
Woohoo.
out. Come hang out with us over at Bar K Dog Bar, which is a blast if you've never been there. It's definitely the place to be.
I just got back. It's like Doggy Wonderland. I
You know,
didn't want to leave.
We're gonna have to do like a little intermediate show,
Mhm.
and you can fill us in on it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Till next time.
Bye.